Linda Spellman. Welcome to the Woo Report.
I'm so excited to be here.
First of all, shout out to Gabby, who recommended you.
Oh, I love Gabby.
We love a medium that it comes recommended. Like, you have to go to a medium that is recommended.
That's what I always tell people. You have to look for what feels right for you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, this feels right for right now.
Excellent.
Linda, you are a psychic medium, and I want to start with your gifts because I want to see how you see, hear, sense beyond the veil, like the medium gifts. So we'll get into the psychic part later, but let's start with the mediumship. So you talk to dead people.
I do.
And
I make people cry for a living, but in a good way.
So how do they come in for you? How do you communicate with them?
So it's interesting. When somebody's getting ready to do a reading, I'll send them an email and say, set the intention for the reading. So write down who you want to hear from, what you want guidance on. Don't tell me, because I don't want to know any of that. But writing it down, it kind of sets the intention, right? Some people do that without even thinking about it, but a lot of people don't. So that's kind of where it starts. Now, they do not always listen to the intentions. They will. Most of the time at the end of the reading, I'll say, do you have any questions? They'll be like, no, you answered all of them. But they'll also throw in what they think my client needs to hear, which we don't always know what we need to hear. So that's a good thing. But
when you're saying what they think, you're pointing up into the ether.
Yes, exactly. My friends in the ether, I spend a lot of time there. It's funny because I noticed when I started doing this, because as you do this for a long time, like I've done thousands of readings at this point, you kind of learn how they're going to come in for you. And I think that's different between every single medium. So for me, for instance, mom's side comes over here, dad's side comes over here. I look sometimes like I'm kind of spastic or something because I'm like doing this during readings and I have to explain to people. Females will come through this way for me, males will come through this way. But some of the nuances really take some time to get used to. So somebody who either has been gone for a long time or had an emotional distance from my client will come in almost like they're coming from far away. It almost just feels like, and it's not like I see these things 3D and they're like people standing in my living room. It's a lot of the sense of them being there. And what I tell people a lot is that if you imagine what your best friend looks like, that's how I see them. So it's not a painted picture in front of me. It's like a memory of an image almost.
It's like in your mind's eye.
I never understood what that meant until I started doing this work, and I'm like, oh, I get it now.
Right.
Because it really is, it's a whole different world in there where it's almost, I call it the in-between, because that's what it feels like for me, is I'm not there, but I'm not here. I'm kind of in between. And I feel like in that in-between space, there's a lot of solace there. There's a lot of peace there. For people who don't do what I do, I feel like that's what often kind of the meditation and the trance world, that's where they're trying to get to. Because it does feel almost like you are lifted from the heaviness of this space. And it's almost like everything else kind of fades away. Like they kind of fade into the background. Outside noise becomes a lot calmer. So that they can come through with messages.
No, how do you get into that space where everything kind of falls away? Do you take some deep breaths? Do you set your own intention?
I always set intentions before every reading, and they're usually the same. If it's a client I know really well, I might add some more because I do have clients that come to me, every couple of weeks. But if it's somebody who doesn't come that often, I just will always say, I'm personally a Christian, I will say, God, please make this reading a blessing for them and for me. And please allow everything that they need to hear that's coming through out of love and light to come through quickly, easily, accurately. And that's kind of how I start it. I don't really have to go meditate or anything at this point because I think because I've done so many of them, I have an opening that I do where I say, I'm just connecting myself to my guides and whoever's coming through for you. And in that kind of couple of sentence statement is really the unlock. Because they know and I know after doing this for so long that means, okay, I'm ready. But sometimes, they'll come through whenever they feel like coming through. There was a 4th of July back when I was living in LA And I decided I was going to take the day off and go to the pool. I forgot to ask them for the day off.
Oh.
So, yeah, the entire day I'm reading random neighbors in the pool, people I don't know, because water is also a very good medium if you happen to be, and I think you probably know that too for some reason, I'm hearing. Sorry, you have people here. There's something with you and water that makes it just, not only is it very calming and soothing, it's almost like you belong near water, but I feel like that's where you find your clarification. That's where you get your answers, right?
Oh my God. Yes. And I've heard that before. So of course. And yes, I feel that. And I always I joke about my house here in Rochester because we have a creek behind us. And I joke that it's always nice to have a water feature. We love having a water feature, but yes, I stare at this creek and I stare at the water every day.
Yeah, no, that doesn't surprise. I don't think
I
you could
definitely
live
find answers there.
not having water near you.
Well, I can't ever leave.
Yeah, no, I mean, first of all, that place feels very, sorry, apparently we're going over here now. That home feels, it's like an oasis. There's something about, there's a lot of history on that land too.
Ooh. I believe it. Tell me more.
There's a lot of history. I feel like there's a lot of Native American history.
Yes.
And it feels like a very, but your soul has Native American history. I call it soul ancestry. It's not like physical ancestry. Sometimes it is also that. But your soul has this Native American history, which is why it's like the people on that land feel safe with you there. It's almost like you are an extension. So you have, your house is haunted, but in a good way. You have people watching out for you in your home.
Wow. Who's here?
It's this Native American, there's Native American history there. And do you have 2 kids?
I do, yes.
Is at least one of them a boy?
They're both boys.
Okay. One boy, they're both connected. They come from you, and your husband's connected too, so they were going to get that anyway. But one of your boys is super, super, super intuitive. Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't surprise me if he actually sees, hears, wakes up feeling like he's communicated with one of these people.
Wow. Yes, definitely. I mean, my 4-year-old Wes is 1000% connected beyond, older soul than me. And
yeah, remarkable.
Aw, thank you. I mean, I think so too. They both are, but Wes is definitely connected.
Something about his soul that just is definitely an old soul, but beyond what I normally will say, because there's a lot of old souls, right? I think that term sometimes is overused, but with him, there's almost a gravitas to him as a 4-year-old that is, it doesn't necessarily fit, but it fits for him. Does that make sense?
Yes.
He probably feels as comfortable with adults as he does with children.
People are drawn to him for sure. I feel like, and I feel like he's a little popular kid in his class because he's just chill. But he's also a tyrant at home, so he's not always chill.
It's funny because I feel like sometimes, especially as children, right? Because I believe that we have one foot on the other side for a while, as children, and then they bring the other foot over and they're here. I feel like there's almost your soul remembers when you weren't 4 years old and being told what to do. Totally. So I feel like sometimes you're do you think they're the boss? Because you're not. But I feel like that it's almost like this disconnection between what your soul knows you were and what you actually are in this life. Yeah, the house is really good for you.
Thank you. I love that you said the Native American piece because I went to another medium in LA, I want to say 3 years ago now, with my 2 best friends there. And she kept bringing up Native American, what's going on with you? There's Native American. And I was just I don't know. But, I mean, this area is in this Finger Lakes area. There's Native American land all over here. So that could be it. But also I did a past life regression recently, and I saw myself as a Native American in a past life.
Yes, you did.
So I'm like, yes, I do identify with this so much. So anyway, thank you for validating that
No
because
problem. I love that.
it's coming up all over the place. I love it so much.
But I feel it's also because you have this healer aspect to you. I feel like you're
Ooh.
almost two people in one. Like you're very
Aw.
driven, but at the same time, you will not drive to the detriment of someone else because you feel it so deeply. It's that moral compass, but it's that healer. And so it's a really interesting balance.
Oh, thank you, Linda. That's so sweet. I love it so much. Well, thank you. I love it. So now, so you are getting messages, but are you talking to guides right now? Because Graham's not here.
A couple people, again, I don't know anything about you, about your history. Do you have a grandmother who's passed?
I do.
Is it mom's side or dad's side or both?
Mom's side.
Okay, I'm pointing over. Mom's side
There's,
is coming through because, like I said,
yeah.
mom's side comes over here. Was there? Were you closer to mom's side?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm getting dad's side coming in from a distance, but not. It didn't feel like necessarily an emotional distance as much as like a physical distance, or you didn't have the opportunity, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I've also got a male who's closer to your age,
Yes.
who's hilarious, by the way.
Tell me more.
Oh my God. He is, I mean, he's just coming through with this big energy. Like, I feel like he was a good soul, but he wasn't one of those people that was like really calm and healing. He could be when he needed. But your grandmother's doing a lot of the talking. But it's interesting because I feel like on your dad's side, I think has his dad passed?
Yes. So I never knew his dad.
Okay, and that would be why he's coming in from a distance, because again, there wasn't that familiarity. But there's
Yeah.
something kind of special about him too. Very discerning.
Interesting. They didn't have a great relationship.
No, he's standing very. I don't know if you noticed. I felt like I started having to like sit up straighter. Like sometimes when somebody's like very disciplined or rigid, it like makes me feel like I've got to sit up straighter. I'm also getting a headache.
I think he had mental illness.
Yeah, that's usually what. If it's either a headache or a head spinning is the mental illness thing. And I think the reason he's also standing back is because when we cross over, like none of our ailments go through, none of our challenges. It's basically as human beings, we have both positive and negative emotions, right? So joy and happiness and judgment and anger, like none of those negative ones go through. So it's almost like we immediately, feel 100% acceptance, which can't wait for that.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
But it's almost like you have to learn and see who you were here
Yes.
and how you affected people here. And I feel like he's very, I'm just going to say I wouldn't have called him a very accepting person. And so part of him is still kind of working through that. I'm sorry. I know we're going all over
Oh
the
no,
place.
that's okay. That's okay. It's more than welcome. More than welcome. They're not good. I'm happy to hear. I'm curious. Like, will someone like my dad's dad come back then in another life? Do you believe that? Do you believe they're going to come back and learn lessons?
It's interesting. I do believe they're going to come back because I know, when I'm talking to old souls like you, this is not the first time you've done this, right? And you've got a lot of people with you who have done it with you before. I feel like you might have a tendency to like see people that you almost recognize even though you don't know them, and you start talking to them and it's as if you've known them forever.
I just got
you
chills.
particularly have a lot of people that you've done this before, again, because you've had a lot of past lives. The thing that I still question that I don't know, because I do talk to people on the other side, right? and I talk to, mostly it's grandparents, but sometimes it's great-grandparents. So when does that cycle go through? Like, I don't think it's immediate. Either that, or because our construct of time is different than theirs, are we existing in two different planes? Are they existing on the other side to be able to talk to me, but also existing here, learning a new life? I don't have the answer to that.
Like our energy could be siphoned. Oh my gosh. Wow. Woo! We are just getting started. I'm obsessed with this. I love it so much. You were talking to people that have passed just now, but then beforehand, did you feel like you were getting anything from guides, from like spirit guides? Are they one and the same? Are they different?
You know what? They're different, but they act the same. So your guides, most of your guides are not people that you know in life. They are guides that have been assigned to you along the way for, a reason, a season, or a lifetime, right? Just like how people here are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And most of them are here for a season or a reason. Few of them will be here for your whole life. Sometimes your loved ones will cross and act as guides. So it's when I'm talking to them, they come through the same. They kind of will let me know if they're a guide or a loved one, but the way they communicate is very similar. So, the one thing I think is really important for people to know is that you're not in this alone. Whether you are feeling, especially right now when we're recording this, it's the holiday season, so there's a lot of people that just feel devastatingly alone. And one of the many things that I've learned from doing this that have been so helpful for me is that never are we alone in this. There are people, there are loved ones, there are guides who are watching out for us, who are lifting us through difficult times, who are navigating us out of difficult times. And that's been a real blessing. But in terms of how they come in very much the same.
I just love that messaging because we all need to hear that.
I know I do.
Yeah, me too. I need to hear it all the time.
So I'm a child of trauma. I went through a lot of trauma as a child and as an adult. I actually wrote a book called Trauma Inspired because I couldn't do this until after the last time I was assaulted. And then all of a sudden this whole world opened up to me and I'm like, okay, God, if this is where you want me to go, this is where I'll go. But I feel like, honestly, some of the people that can connect the easiest are those who have been traumatized.
So this is one of my questions for you because we talk a lot about on this podcast about crack open moments, and crack open moments was my first episode of this podcast because I got run over by a car and I had this crazy
I was listening
accident.
to that this morning.
Oh my gosh!
Wow, I'm so glad you're all right.
Thank you. Me too. But I look back on it as one of the best things that ever happened to me, even though there was darkness. But it has given me so many gifts in that. It has cracked me open into this new world that gives me that peace where before I had a turbulent mind, among many other things. But I'm curious for you. I mean, there's no comparing trauma because all trauma for people are different. But you've been through these traumatic experiences, and would you ever say that you are grateful for them, or do you never say you do?
I do, because, for several reasons. The childhood trauma, I think, is why I can do what I can do. Because remember earlier I was saying, I think as kids we keep like one foot on the other side and one foot here, and then eventually we'll bring it over. I spent so much time dissociating as a child because of what was happening to me, that was my place to go. So I don't think that foot ever came over. I feel like I just spent so much time there that for me to access that in-between space, you were asking earlier, do I have to meditate or do anything? I don't. I just go. But I think that's why. It's because that was my safe place.
Wow.
And then when the last time, because I've had a lot of fault in my life, that, from being a young child and teenager, and then 10 years ago. So the 10 years ago episode, I feel like I'm a recovering type A, and I was in corporate America. I was a VP of marketing for a several billion-dollar company. So there was a lot of stress there, and I did not pay attention to myself. When you go through childhood trauma, you often quit asking if you're okay, because you know the answer. Asking is not going to help you. You can't do anything to change your situation.
Wow.
You're stuck. So you don't ask. And then you don't realize that you can start asking when you're an adult and you have your own job and you're making your own choices, and because it's just not the pattern that you grew up in. And I think that assault 10 years ago is what finally broke me, honestly, but it caused me to go into treatment. And I think there's a magic in being still that we are not encouraged to seek, because when you're still, you can start asking the questions that you never gave yourself time to ask. Do I like what I'm doing? Am I happy? Because nobody asks you if you're happy. How much money do you make? What kind of car do you have? What kind of house do you have? And nobody encourages you to ask if you're happy. So I love that crack open moment, because I feel like the assault 10 years ago is what really forced me to stop, and it gave me almost permission to start asking those questions.
Wow. So you left corporate America after that happened?
Well, technically they left me. I was on leave and they eliminated my job while I was on medical leave. But I don't think I could have gone back. I have crippling PTSD, but I think that's also what keeps me being still. So yes, it has its challenges, but at the same time, I'm living a much simpler life. And what I do helps people at a level that I mean, nothing you're doing in corporate America, unless you're, working to help cure cancer or things like that, it's very hard to find those jobs where you know that you're actually helping people every day in what you do. And that, for me, is everything.
It's your purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like
Absolutely.
keeps you running, keeps your drive, keeps you feeling alive, keeps you feeling
Exactly.
passionate and excited. Like otherwise you're just, what are we doing here?
Exactly. I'm a firm believer that you treat somebody well in whatever way. You help them heal. I get apologies from parents that abuse their children that they never heard in life, and things that are really quite life-changing. But then that person goes out and changes somebody else's life because they're in a place where they can. So that, you do one kindness is not one kindness. One kindness is millions of kindnesses that could go on for years.
The ripple effect is real.
Absolutely.
Yes. Oh, I believe that so much. So one thing that I did realize when I did this first episode of Crack Open Moments is that it is extremely common for people to experience these things that are very traumatic, these like life-changing catastrophic events. And so many people reached out to me after that, different types of trauma, different things that have happened to them. But my question for you is, if someone has experienced this dark, traumatic moment, and they are not yet in the place of finding the light, I know that you help people kind of clear these unwanted energies. So what's the first step they can do to help take the next step to clear it, to try and shake it?
I think a lot of it is when I wrote my book, Trauma Inspired, I originally wrote it because I was curious if this happened to anybody else, that they had trauma and then developed gifts. So I interviewed 50 other people that this did happen to.
Yes.
But most of the book ended up being about how to recover from trauma, because I realized that, again, all different types of trauma. There were, women that were assaulted in the military. There were people whose child tried to take their own lives or did take their own. 4 of them had actually died from different causes, accidents or overdose, and had come back to life. So it was very different, but somehow they all followed a very similar path to healing. And that, for me, was my biggest difficulty. Was I would hear other people's success story, but I couldn't apply it to my life. I'm happy for you, but that doesn't help me. And it was so important to me to be able to put something out there that's almost like a step by step. But one of the first things I think in that step is to realize where you are. One of the first things I talked about was, how do you react to trauma? So there's a bunch of different reactions. Some people ignore that it happened. Some people escape. Some people diminish it. Oh, it wasn't that bad. Yes, it was. And by saying that, you're not weak. You're actually strong enough and courageous enough to realize this had an impact on you. It doesn't define you, but it did have an impact on you. So kind of starting and really being honest with yourself, and that one of the first things I talk about is all these different ways of reacting, all except one of which is keeping you stuck. Because you're not moving forward. You're, figuring out how to navigate as if this is like the elephant in the room. That won't fit in a closet, It's just going to keep coming back. And for me, for decades, I hadn't done anything with my childhood trauma. And it didn't go away. It just kept showing itself in different ways. But I think also what's really most important is to realize that although your trauma affected you, one, you're not alone in your trauma. Because it's very common, I think, to feel isolated, to feel like nobody can understand. And again, going back to, you're not alone here.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. It was PTSD therapy that you went to?
Yeah, I went into treatment because basically my therapist is like, I just want to keep you alive. And I don't think, had I not gone into treatment, I wouldn't be here. I just wouldn't. Because it was another assault. It wasn't like an assault. It was on top of all of the other stuff. And I went to work the next day.
Wow.
Because I was like, well, this is what I do. It happens at night. The next day you pretend it's normal. And it was just not working anymore. I was like, okay, I think my closet of past traumas was like full up, no vacancy. It's like throwing things back out at me. And so I went into trauma for PTSD. And honestly, at that point, I was like drinking way too much. And I was using escape tactics like a lot of people do just to try to stop feeling. So that was where I went. And that's actually when I started being able to do this.
Wow. And so one day you were like, wait, that's a dead person coming towards me?
So it was weird. I talked about this on a recent podcast. It was a moment that I'll never forget because I was sitting outside and I had like a break, and it was in Arizona. So I'm like sitting in the Arizona sun, and I love sitting in the sun. And I turned to my right, and this person was there, but it wasn't clearly like a real person. It was kind of shimmering. And I thought, okay. And so I turned back this way, and I thought, okay, I'm going to turn back, and they're not going to be there anymore. But I did, and they were there. And I thought, oh boy. And I remember his energy was just really good. And I went and I asked, thankfully in Arizona where I went, there were some people that were pretty spiritually aware. Because, you're in a mental health facility, so going and saying, oh yeah, so I saw this person outside. Not really your way of getting out. But I just said, has anybody passed away on these grounds? That was like, he looked like a kid. It's like a teenager. Wow. Mm-hmm. And he said, yeah. And he would sometimes, I didn't see him all the time, but sometimes I would be like walking and he would be like walking next to me, just like saying hi, and then he would be gone. And I looked up when I was writing this book, actually, I decided like there has to be a picture, right? If somebody passed away in a mental health facility, you would think that would be on the news and there would be a picture. So I ended up finding a picture of him and was like, oh my God, that's him.
Wow.
And it was
wild.
It really gave me goosebumps because it didn't occur to me to look it up until I was writing Trauma Inspired. And it was fascinating. I stopped saying it was crazy and I try to replace that with it's fascinating because my whole life is a little crazy.
Everyone's is.
All of those things that I typically will say it's crazy, it's actually a synchronicity. It's something that's saying, hey, we see you, you're on the right path. So I started using fascinating instead.
Oh gosh, wow, I love that so much. Okay, so you said that you were a psychic your whole life. Or do you have memories of like talk to me about memories or experiences where you're like, oh, I totally intuited that?
So, it's been interesting because it's been kind of sprinkled throughout. So the medium thing is newer. It did happen once, but I didn't realize it was happening at the time. But I mean, there were things that I have a family member who also has this ability, and I remember one time we were playing, kind of cleaning up the house, and we wanted to play, but we're like, we have to clean up the house because our grandparents were coming, and all of a sudden we're looking at each other like, no, they're not. So we're like, why are we cleaning the house? Because they're not coming. They're not coming till next week. And then the phone rang, and it was my grandparents calling to say that they were delayed and they weren't coming till the following week.
What? How old were you then?
4?
What?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Wow.
Yeah, one of my favorite stories that I don't think I've ever shared this on a podcast. I share this with friends, but it's kind of a cool story. So I'll tell you, and then you can decide if you want to keep it. But I was at one point sharing a room with my older sister. And when you walked into the room, it's like her bed was this way, mine was this way. There was like a rocking chair in front of the closet, and then windows. And we had been like pretending we were asleep and then crawling over to scare each other because, you know, we were kids. I think we were like 5 and 8 at that point because I was the younger one. And all of a sudden this man walked in the room, sat down in this rocking chair, rocked back and forth, laughed, not like an evil laugh, but like a humorous, he's being entertained, laughed, and then walked out the door. And I'm sure it was 1 minute. It felt like an hour. I was like, did you see that? And my sister's like, yeah, did you see that? And we both started screaming. So my parents come in and they, you know, separate us. We told them the same story. My dad went around and checked like all the locks and windows and everything was intact. And that was it. Well, 30 years later, we're at a house. We had moved to Chicago. We were in California at that point. We had moved to Chicago. And my sister calls me upstairs. And it was Thanksgiving or something because we were all at my mom's house. And I was like, hey, what's up? And she was just flipping through pictures. And all of a sudden I was like, stop. And she looked at me. She goes, that's him, isn't it? I was like, yes. And it had been my dad's parents passed before, my dad's dad passed before we were ever born. So we never met him. Apparently it was a picture of my dad's dad. But when my sister was flipping through the picture, she said, Mom, that's the guy who was in our bedroom that day. And my mom was like, no way. She goes, no, watch. And then they called me up, and that's when I was like, stop. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So good. But that was kind of like you guys were also seeing dead people then. You were like seeing dead people early.
It didn't even really occur to me until, you know, somebody asked me about this like a year ago, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I did see somebody.
Yeah,
and then just like weird things that happen throughout life. You know, somebody was like, you know, out to lunch, and I'm like, are you pregnant? So how did you know that? I'm like, do you have twins in your family? She's like, how did you know that?
Oh my gosh.
But then we go back to work, like the little like blips of things, because I mean, I was building databases and things, like I wasn't in that frame of mind, but I would just know things. Anybody who's known me for a long time has kind of seen it happen. And, you know, I have like ghost stories, right? I think, and so I have things like that will disappear and then they'll put it back right in the middle of the counter.
So do you get that a lot? Do you get like, I feel like I hear people on the other side use coins.
So I often, in almost every reading, they'll tell me like what to watch out for them. So for other people, like coins comes up a lot, feathers. I've had some really weird ones, though. I remember one client I was saying it was her sister that had passed. And I said, she's showing a hot air balloon as a sign for you. I'm like, I don't know how often you're going to see a hot air balloon, but for whatever reason, like that's her sign for you. And whenever you see a hot air balloon, know that she's with you. And she emailed me later that night, and she said I had forgotten all about this. She's like, I have one picture in my bedroom, and it is a teddy bear in a hot air balloon.
Oh my gosh.
And I just got full body goosebumps, and I was like, okay, so she wants you to know she's thinking about you every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there any other signs?
A lot of birds.
A lot of birds.
A lot of birds. Some of them will bring up blackbirds, because blackbirds for me are very protective. Like ravens. Like with you, it's cardinals.
I just saw one the other day. I was like, oh.
They're like, cardinals for, like, okay.
Who is it? Because I'm always like, who is that?
It's your grandmother's, like, cardinals.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I was wondering whether it was Matt's grandparents. I like think about them sometimes.
Yeah.
But is it like, can
No,
it be
they're
more than one
sweet.
person, or is it just?
No, it definitely can be more than one person. They're really sweet. Do you ever get, I don't even know if they have these where you are, woodpeckers or
Oh yeah,
birds?
woodpeckers.
The
Woodpeckers and hummingbirds? Did you say hummingbirds?
bluebirds.
Oh, bluebirds. Yeah, we get both of those.
Okay, so the woodpeckers and bluebirds are from them. And I'm like, woodpeckers is not one I hear a lot. So that's why I was like, well, I hope she has woodpeckers. Where's yours? And then the cardinal is from your grandmother.
Ah!
Is there
Well, we
somebody
love this
whose
clarity.
birthday is coming up?
Yes. Like
So-
not someone who died or someone who's
Somebody
living.
who's living.
Yes, my son's birthday is coming up.
Happy birthday.
My 7-year-old's. Oh, happy
Happy
birthday.
Yeah, because all of a sudden they're like showing me the cake, and I don't have to be a psychic to figure out that's a birthday. That's a happy birthday message for somebody. So
Oh my gosh. Well, both I'm literally planning both my kids' birthdays because one's December 21st and one's January 4th. So I've been
Excellent.
like birthday planning mode like the last. Literally, I sent out invitations yesterday for Wes's. So.
Oh, see, that's perfect.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So good. Okay, so one thing that I think that you will be the perfect person to ask is what do you think happens when we die?
So I believe wholly that based on, plus I've heard it, right, from other people. I can give you like the immediate and then kind of the longer term, right?
Give me it
So
all.
The immediate that I hear is instant relief of pain, whether it's mental suffering, whether it's spiritual suffering, whether it's physical suffering. It's immediately gone. Like it doesn't like just fade away. It's gone to the point where people are like didn't realize how much pain they were in because it had gotten worse over time. And then when they were immediately released from it, they burst out crying because it is such an incredible relief. So I can tell you that. I've had the actual act of passing described a couple different ways, so I think that is more individual to the person. But and I don't remember a lot of readings, but some stick out with me because I remember somebody said it was like being on a lazy river, but the water was like super warm, and almost as if you kind of went from being in this storm to all of a sudden this like super warm, it just being surrounded by water and just being enveloped in this complete, we say unconditional acceptance. I don't think we can really do full unconditional acceptance here as humans because there's just too much. I get these small, every once in a while, glimpses of what it feels like. It brings me to tears. And it's like secondary, not even like parts of a second where I'm allowed to feel this, because then they're like, oh, no, she's not supposed to feel that. It's indescribable. I don't really believe that there are human words to describe it. I also hear a lot that when people are going through intense suffering or intense fear or both, say somebody was murdered, somebody was in a great deal of pain, that they're actually pulled up so they witness their passing, but they are not fully experiencing all of the pain that would normally be associated with it. And I say that for people who have loved ones who have passed in that kind of horrendous way, and they like wonder what their last moments were. One, they're not alone, and they're often too pulled up out of it, so that it's almost that they're watching it happen instead of feeling it happen.
And that's, I think, what happened to me. I think that's what happened to me.
Okay.
Yes. Like I feel when you first said that instant relief, that's how I felt. And I also got the visual. Like I was up above my body and I saw myself laying there. And then I went back in. And when I went back in, I was told by people after the fact that were like around me that I was stoic, that I was completely calm. I just got run over by a car. My hip socket was shattered.
Not been calm.
I should have been like dead or screaming in pain, and I wasn't any of those things. I was like, this is fine. This is actually perfect.
Because it's almost like a sense of certainty. Like
Yes.
Somehow that
This
there's
is okay.
something more and it's fine.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
I thought I was going to die. I was like, well, this is it. I've lived a great life. And I was not upset about it. I was completely at peace with it, which, like, I was not a person that would be at peace with something like that
Right, exactly.
beforehand, I it's interesting because once I felt that way, it's almost like that peace has kind of stayed with me the last
Yes.
5 years.
Which I love hearing this from somebody who experienced it and is still here, because it's very
Yes.
validating in terms of what I hear. But
Yes.
yeah, it's almost like it's this bit of knowledge that you have that you will never unknow.
Yes. Yes.
I love
One
that. That is
thousand
so
percent.
cool.
And that is also it's like I feel like that is why I do this podcast. Like because there is this knowing and what am I supposed to do walking around with it? Like, I'm
You want
just
other
walking
people
around
to
with it.
understand it.
Yes. I'm like,
Exactly.
guys, this is really cool. Like it's all good. Like let's just have some fun while we're here. We're if something's, triggering us or pushing us, like it's probably because we can learn and grow from it.
Absolutely.
And that is
Absolutely.
like that type of piece is it's what it's all about.
Yeah. And it's crazy because it's those glimpses that I've had that you've had, you can't describe it. Really. It feels
So hard to
inadequate.
explain.
But it's something that is just, again, it's like that sense of certainty, that sense of, okay, it's going to be
Totally.
okay.
Yes,
The other
it's gonna
thing
be
I think
okay.
is really fascinating is that I want to pass along just because I think it might help people who are watching
Yeah.
is I hear a lot of time from people who had Alzheimer's that they were almost taken on like a preview of here's where you're going. And
Wow.
sometimes when they're talking about people they haven't seen in years, it's because they actually have seen them. And when
Wow.
they're starting to maybe sleep a lot, when they're getting to that point where it's they're not unconscious but not lucid a lot, that they're being kind of shown where they're going to help them
Wow.
understand it and feel
Wow.
better. And that's why sometimes they start bringing up people that they haven't seen in years, because those are the people who have been, their mom, their dad, their, best friend, who have been actually kind of taking them on a little tour of heaven, which had never occurred to me before I started doing this work.
Oh, I love that. I love that. What comfort and peace that will bring people whose loved ones go through that.
Yeah, I mean, I
I love
can't,
that.
I have such empathy for those people. Then I also hear that some people have, I'm going to call it jobs, but it's not really jobs, on the other side. I remember one client of mine whose son passed away. He was very young. And he came through in a reading, following up. He welcomes animals when they pass. And I was like, I started crying because it's like, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard of, but it makes total sense
Wow.
when
Of
animals
course.
cross because, of course they have family and things too, but they don't have that same concept that we do. So to
Yeah.
have this child who's absolutely, he's like a bundle of love, say, hey, welcome, you're safe here. It just, yeah,
Wow.
it was pretty cool.
Oh, I love that so much. Do you think that animals go to the same place?
I know they do. I have animals come through all the time.
Oh,
And it, like obviously the normal cats and dogs and things, and they'll kind of tell me, oh, well, my right hip hurt, or, I had something with my teeth. So they validate, to their owners. I think the oddest one, because I've had horses, I've had pigs,
wow.
and a frog. I had a frog once, so I was like,
A
okay, now,
frog.
but it was a pet. It was like, I'm like, okay, I guess we're going with this. But yeah, no, they definitely do go to the same place.
Ah, Linda. Well, tell everyone where they can find you and how to get in touch with you.
So my website is called lightofthephoenix.com. I named it that because my life literally was destroyed. I had no job. I had no, so I was kind of the proverbial phoenix, but I want to be a light for others. So it might help people remember. So lightofthephoenix.com. I'm also a little more active on Instagram than I was for years because I had a lot of imposter accounts and I didn't want them taking advantage of people. And then my book part's over, like I feel like you're on the verge of something. So I don't know if there's something you're considering that you're like, I don't know, do it. Jump in with both feet. I'm also getting opals for some reason.
Ooh.
I don't know if opals is a certain, like
this one from my gram.
That would be it. Okay, there's your validation. I was like, where are we going with opals? Like first they're like, oh, she's on this, and opals. I'm like, okay.
I'm like, oh, the one I wear every day.
Yeah,
that's her. That was hers. Yes.
So I love that. I love that. She's so cute. And she's
She
like,
is.
you have more faith in yourself now than you ever have, but you still have a way to go.
I believe it.
And she's like, just keep following your path. Your path is finding you. You don't have to worry about finding it. Because as much as I feel like you're a person who likes signs, I am too. Know that if you're not going the right direction, they're going to let you know. So just keep going. Yeah, it almost is like you're getting ready to get on a train. Are you traveling?
I am actually going to go get on a train.
Okay then.
This is hilarious. I'm going to New York this weekend for a friend's birthday, and we are like going to his house, and then we are taking the train into the city.
That's hilarious. Because I'm like, normally they show me a plane, and I'm like, okay, we're going to go with it. But it's just, she's doing this just as all as validation of believe in yourself fully. You are doing what you're meant to do, but there's more. And don't be afraid of it. Because I almost feel like there's something playing around in your head of maybe I'll do this, and then you talk yourself out of it or you distract yourself from it.
Yes, all the time.
Don't.
Okay.
It's big.
Okay.
But you're supposed to be big.
Okay.
So yeah, follow that.
Linda, we love this so much. Thank you.
It was so awesome to actually get to chat with you. And
I know.
I've been listening to episodes of the podcast coming into this, and it's great. First of all, you're a natural.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
And your voice, you have a voice for this too. It's just something
thank
really
you.
calming about it. But this is, you're in your wheelhouse, but I'm really enjoying it. I can't wait to listen to all the rest of the episodes. And I literally would love to come back if it makes sense.
1,000%. No, we love a psychic medium. I hope you enjoyed that episode. For way more woo-woo, please follow and subscribe to the Woo Report podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, or wherever you love to listen. Never miss an episode of the Woo Report by joining the community at thewooreportpodcast.com. Thank you for liking, sharing, rating, and loving on this little slice of magic. I am so, so grateful you are here. Bye.